Welcome to the third REDCap video for the tactic trial, continuing with data entry. We've shown how to add a new record or new participant, and we've illustrated all types of data entry fields. Now let's see what these two bubbles next to data entry fields stand for. First, we have the encircled H. This stands for data history and shows the data history, date and time of change, user who made the changes, and what data changes were made for each field. We'll cover this in more detail in the data validation video. If you're not sure what the field names stand for, in this case BL MedHist RESP 1, 3 or 6, this would stand for baseline medical history for respiratory, the first, the third and the sixth item. You can always go to the codebook, scroll up on the left hand side next to project home, there is the codebook. You shouldn't need to use this too often. Let's leave without saving changes. But this can shed some light on the various messages, pop-up windows, etc. that you may encounter. The second item that looks like a speech bubble, just underneath the H, stands for data resolution workflow. You can click on it if you want to make a comment about the data, for example, justify an out-of-range value or a change of value. Here we'll put 50 for the hemoglobin. This is outside the suggested range. We'll talk about this in more detail in the data validation video. But for now, we'll just click data resolution and select verified data value to indicate that this is the actual patient value. Then click on verified data value. You could also open a query. We'll see this in more detail again in the data validation video. Now you'll notice that the data resolution icon has changed from the speech bubble to a green tick mark. If you click on it again, for example, another user notices that there was an error, you can de-verify the data value, again by leaving a comment. And click de-verify data value. Now the icon has changed again from the green tick mark to a red exclamation mark, indicating an issue with the value. When you have finished entering your data, you will need to save and exit the form. At the bottom of the screen, you will see a form status section showing as incomplete by default in answer to the question complete. If you're confident that you have entered all that you can, click the drop-down box next to it and select complete. If you feel you need to come back later with more data or need to double-check an entry, then leave it as incomplete. Then save by clicking your choice of Save and Exit Form, Save and Stay, and with the drop-down we can access other options, Save and go to the next form, Save and Exit Record, or Save and go to next record. Alternatively, select Cancel to back out from the form without saving your work. We get a pop-up message. Let's click OK in this case, and we get another visual cue indicating that the data entry was not saved. Now, if you wish to edit an existing record, there are two ways for this. Go to the data collection area on the left-hand side, and we see these two options, Record Status Dashboard and Add Edit Records. For the first method, let's click on Add Edit Records, as we did before when adding a new record. In the field Choose an existing patient's trial number, click the drop-down arrow and select your record. In this case, we want TC2050. Double-check that you have selected the correct trial number. Alternatively, you can type in the existing patient's trial number directly in the field below. This takes us to the record homepage, where we can see the status of all the data collection instruments, so CRF, for that patient. We can scroll up and down as before, left and right, but for now let's reduce the zoom level. Now we can see everything at one glance. Select the data collection instrument you wish to edit by clicking on the relevant circle as before. Please notice that the circles have different colors according to their status. The legend is here on top. The aim is to get all your forms marked as complete in green. Not all forms will be completed for all patients. For example, the ones for withdrawal or adverse event or IPC removal will only need to be completed if a patient withdraws, experiences an AE or SAE, or is in the IPC arm. Let's edit the baseline assessment. Now, the other way of editing an existing form is by clicking on the Record Status dashboard. This displays all participants entered in the database so far, subject to data groups. For example, you will only be able to see your specific site's patients. And we can see the completion status of all their CRFs across all events. The CRFs are grouped by the event they occur in, and if one instrument appears in more than one event, for example, health service utilization that we find in 2-week follow-up, 4-week follow-up and 12-week follow-up, it will appear in each event as it was designed to. As before, we can just click on a circle to edit a data collection instrument, and the status of the instrument is displayed in the same way. Here we see all patients' trial numbers, independent of site because we are on the test instance. Now, if a patient experiences more than one AE or SAE, a separate form, also called a new instance, will need to be completed for each AE and SAE. You will notice in the adverse events column, here we need to scroll to the far right, that there is a plus sign next to the circle. This means that we have already multiple forms, or at least one for which we can add a second, third, etc. Clicking on the plus sign creates a distinct additional form which can be recognized by its instance number. As we can see here, instance number 3, or displayed here in the current instance. If you need to navigate to another instance of the form, just click on the drop-down arrow next to current instance and select the instance number that you need. Here we'll leave without saving changes. We have now seen how to successfully enter data for the tactic trial. Thank you for your attention and see you in the next video, Data Validation.